Okay, everybody, for my perpetual motion pages, this is perpetual motion God's way. Yes, God invented perpetual motion. Can you believe that? It's called the thermohaline circulation, which moves warm water around the world. And if you notice with this map, we have the warm shallow current that comes from wow, is that Vancouver Island? Gulf of Alaska, Washington State's right here, and it will flow down. And this is where, not Darwin, but the guy with the turtles and the Galapagos Islands. And here, the diversity of animals switches from those which would be related to Australia and those which are related to Asia. They divide right along here. This is if you're familiar with tectonic plate movement, stuff like that. He observed animals different and realized a natural process. But when it flows through here, what's moving the water? Is it following high tide? Because this is the direction high tide flows. But it can't go here. It's a 600-mile gap from South America to Antarctica. How are you going to pump water through there? Using the moon. So this is going to create a bulge in here, which pushes the warm water up north to where then you have here where it can go west, further from Africa. And so what might have shaped the continents, it's actually the moon pumping water between Antarctica and Africa. That current might actually be what's shaped Africa and South America and North America and Europe. I used to live in Norway right here, and talking to family in Norway, they told me Norway is rising up out of the Atlantic Ocean because of the Ice Age ended like 12,000 years ago, and it's still rising from that, and interglacial periods are known to last about 12,000 years. It's not rising because of the last glacial melt. It's rising because glaciers are melting today. And that's releasing more heat into France and Spain. Because when the flow of water slows, it releases more heat. Kinetic energy, 1/2 mv squared. And so when it cools, it comes back down here. And then it can't really flow through here, too small of a gap. So it has to come back to the direction it came from, where it's being pumped from. Of course, since I served in the United States Navy and was a machinist mate, have worked as a millwright, have worked with a lot of pumps, piping systems. This is basically the moon's gravity pumping water around the Earth in the thermohaline circulation. And some warm water will make it through here, but for the most part, this will be a bulge that pushes the current north. And I think if they look at data, they're going to find this right here. It's the sea level is a little bit higher than here. So that's how the flow of the ocean current is being controlled by the moon. Of course, if the moon's creating high tide here, how can it do it on the other side of the world when it's not in direct line of sight? So its gravity has to be calculated differently than what it is on the side of the Earth it's facing. I mean, it'd be making the other side of the Earth, pulling it on shallower actually, and not creating a high tide. And that suggests that something is working at the gravitational level. And I don't know what works at the gravitational level that could be influenced by matter. I'm not sure. But this is how perpetual motion works God's way. You have a narrow channel here, high tide, water has to go through here. It can't go through here hardly, too narrow. So it pushes it north. And that's what creates the circulation. And it will always keep going because the equator right along here is a bulge. And because it bulges, that means it requires work to move water from here to here. And that might be the primary work of the thermohaline circulation from the moon, because it's all being pushed west by the moon's gravitational effect. And so that would help to explain this perpetual motion thermohaline circulation. And by living in Norway, where I learned to talk in, Americans hate me because when you learn to talk in Norway and you're from Dayton, Ohio, you're in the wrong place. I can tell you that for sure. But this is a secret to the thermohaline circulation, and it will help to explain climate change and global warming. All right. Thank you, Norway and family in Norway. Big shout out to you. I loved living there. Best time of my life.